I lost the Zoom.
It says live.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. This is Linda K. Edwards with New Me, New You. And New Me, New You is to educate, enrich, empower, and inspire. We focus on all vital issues, both in personal and business, to help people to become better than yesterday and to unlock their potential. We serve individuals, families, businesses, and we also do outreach, spiritual enhancement and enrichment. And also we facilitate in-person and virtual events. So tonight we have Pregnancy Chronicles with Makeeta Cochy. Okay, so before we do, we always start with a prayer. Dear Lord, we ask you that whatever is taught today, that it is resonated within each and every person that watches and listens to this. And we ask you to do this in Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about our guest, Makeeta. Makeeta is a wife, mother of four, a birth and postpartum doula. She serves as a council member of the Long Island Doula Association and an active member of their Black Maternity Wellness Collective. Though she continues to work for the New York City Department of Education, Makeeta makes time to serve and encourage her clientele with understanding and compassion. When Makeeta gave birth to her first child, she struggled with juggling married life, caring for a newborn, breastfeeding, and self-care. She questioned, if I'm going through this, how many other women are struggling with the same issues? 20 years later, she became a birth and postpartum doula and a trained, informed, and mindfulness birth educator to empathetically reach those who feel the way she did. Makeeta is currently earning her master's degree in clinical mental health and counseling at Long Island University, where she maintains a steady 4.0 with hopes of serving those who suffer from perinatal, mood and anxiety disorders and other mental health related issues. Her accomplishments include being inducted into the International Mental Health Honor Society, spring of 2021, congratulations.
Thank you.
And now holds the position of recording secretary and serves on their social committee. Makeeta has been a panelist for several speaking engagements hosted by the Breastfeeding Resiliency, Engagement, and Empowerment, the Bridgehampton Child Care and Recreation Center, and with Nestle company Gerber. As you know, those are very popular and prestigious companies, and I commend you. And topics of specialty include recognition of Black Breastfeeding Week, America's Black mental health crisis and birth and postpartum myths, and the beliefs of having a birth coach or doula. Makeeta's passion for maternal health in the Black community has also allowed her to serve on the Women's Diversity Network and the Maternal Justice Coalition. She is currently working on the Education Committee to help bring awareness to underrepresented communities and all communities on the power of their voice, healthy delivery options, body changes, and hospital procedures before and after pregnancy. And ladies and gentlemen, present Makeeta Cochy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you for having me and for showcasing what a doula is and the Pregnancy Chronicles, what we delightfully call this. So yes, we're calling it the Pregnancy Chronicles. Again, my name is Makeeta Cochy, and I'll just go through a little bit of who I am. Linda already mentioned, but I am a wife. I'm also a mother of four. I'm an informed and mindfulness birth educator, a birth and a postpartum doula, which you can consider that as a full spectrum doula. So a little bit about me, a little backdrop. that's also already been mentioned, but I also serve as a council member on the Long Island Doula Association, and I am an active member of BMWC, which is the Black Maternity Wellness Collective, where it's a collective of other Black doulas on Long Island who are here to represent just the doula profession and for families who are specifically looking for and seeking out other Black doulas. I'm almost done with my clinical mental health and counseling program, so I'll be out there soon at a postpartum resource center near you. But I do hope to use that degree to help those who are suffering from perinatal mood and anxiety disorders, which we in our profession call it PMADS for short, and other maternal mental health issues that are related to marginalized communities and beyond. So it's not just that, but for all pregnant women or dealing with postpartum issues. So one of the main questions that people ask me is why did I become a doula? And I'll start with going into my pregnancy, my birth story. Everyone has a birth story, and everyone's is very different. My birth story started with my first child. I was a very newly wedded wife, and within that first year, we became pregnant with our first child. And we were very gleeful, very excited, very happy, a little nervous, of course, because we had just gotten married and we was like, oh my God, now we have a family to take care of. So, I am and was a book nerd. I love books. I enjoy reading them. I love the smell of the pages. I love turning them. I listen to my Audible books, but at the time, Audible was not available. And so, book nerd, here I am. I read through all the books, all the studies. I read What to Expect When You're Expecting. And then when that movie came out, that was just like, oh my God, I read books and articles from Dr. Sears, who was known to be one of the premier doctors on childbirth and education. And at the time, I also watched every single episode of A Baby Story, which aired on TLC. It no longer is on anymore, but that's my birth education. Okay. I didn't really go to Lamaze. I didn't do anything like that because to me, I just didn't need it. And I read all the books. I had friends who were just having babies. So we talked. So I figured I knew everything that I needed to know. And I can honestly say that my birth journey, my pregnancy journey was very textbook, right? Towards the end of the trimester, I'm sorry, towards the end of my third trimester, this is TMI, but hey, whatever. I went to the bathroom, I checked the toilet, and I see something that I read before called the mucus plug. And so I saw that, I'm like, oh, mucus plug, check. Let me start timing my contractions when they start. Check, did that. Contacted my doctor when the contractions came between 8 and 5 minutes apart because I was about at least 30 minutes away from the hospital. Check. Bags at the door, at the ready. They were there 2 weeks ahead of time. Check. Call the husband. Husband is there, ready to pick us up and pick me up and take me to the hospital. Check. I'm breathing properly from what I understand, and contractions seem pretty manageable. Get to the hospital. They check me. I go through triage, and now I'm waiting to be seen. And while I'm sitting there, I feel this burst of warm, like fluid coming down my leg, and I start laughing to myself. I start giggling because I'm like, okay, this is so cliche, but I think my water broke. I mean, these are all the things that I saw it in the movies, you know. So now here I am saying it for the very first time. My water broke. I think my water just broke. And the nurses come in, they check me. Yeah, yeah, your water did break. And I'm laughing and I'm giggling, and they're like, okay, are you all right? And I'm like, no, I mean, I'm fine, you know. So here comes the delivery part. I think my husband was helping me breathe through it. He was there. Again, very textbook. I now I'm holding my son in my arms and I'm like, oh my God, he is absolutely beautiful. The best thing that ever happened to me in my life, right? And we go upstairs to recovery. Recovery seems good. I have a lactation consultant coming into my room. She's helping me with breastfeeding. Woohoo, because that's what I wanted to do. And everything is going well. I'm sleeping. I'm getting food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner around the clock. What do you want, Mrs. Cochy? How can we help you? I'm checking my blood pressure. I mean, I was doing a-okay until I got home. Now, I'm home for the past couple of days, you know, and I'm dealing with that whole postpartum period now. And my body is sore. It's hard for me to walk. It's hard for me to sit. I didn't read this in the Dr. Sears book. I don't even think I read this in What to Expect When You're Expecting. At least I don't remember reading it. And they definitely didn't talk about this on A Baby Story on TLC. So what is going on? And though I'm excited and in love with my son, I also feel this overwhelming sense of I don't know, depletion, sadness. And it was a little more than sad, right? It was a little more than just the baby blues, because I looked that up too. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have the baby blues. Um, but then I got frustrated and then I'm happy and then I'm sad and then I'm crying, then I'm angry and then I'm frustrating again. And it was all of these different emotions that just took me by a whirlwind. And I was not expecting to feel that way. Then the breastfeeding thing became more of an issue as the days went on and as the weeks progressed because I didn't think that I was producing enough milk. I didn't think that my body was adequate enough to supply my baby with the food that my body was supposed to give him. And you know, my mother was like, oh, don't worry, after a couple of days your breasts are going to be so full and so heavy that, you know, you're definitely going to know. Well, that didn't happen to me. Um, and it was more than a couple of days, and it was actually more than a couple of weeks. I didn't really feel this fullness, right, of milk weighing my breast down. I just didn't. And so that's making me more upset. That's frustrating me. You know, I tried to feed him. He wasn't latching on properly. You know, my husband is like, just give the baby formula then. I'm like, no, you know, I was dead set on breastfeeding. So anything outside of that just wasn't good enough, you know. But I did it because ultimately I want to make sure that my baby is being fed. So I breastfeed, I breastfeed. And the milk in the bottle was so little, like the ounces. I'm like, oh my God. And I was pumping for what seemed like hours, but it probably would have been more like 30 minutes. But that was sore. That was a little torturous. And the communication between my husband and I, that was like, oh God, that wasn't good. So I'm dealing with all of these things, sleep deprivation. I was tired out the wazoo. Um, and I just broke. I literally was not in a good head place. And it was one night that I finally was able to get some sleep that I said, oh my God, if I'm going through this, how many other people are going through this with the same issues? How many other people are struggling with these same issues? And I vowed, I'm like, all right, if this is how I'm feeling, I know there are other people feeling this way and no one's talking about it. So if and when I ever get a chance to talk about it, to help another mom, to help a woman feel secure and I don't know, validated, heard, supported, I was going to do that. Little did I know that that position already existed in a title of a doula. And so that is why I became a doula, because I wanted to help people. So for those who do not know what a doula is, what is a doula and why are doulas so important? Well, first, doulas are not midwives. I know that some people do confuse the two. They think a doula is a midwife or that a midwife is a doula, but those are two very different roles. A doula is a trained non-medical professional who provides guidance for the service of others and who supports another person through health-related experiences such as childbirth, miscarriages, stillbirth, and even afterbirth, which is AKA postpartum. There are also death doulas who are working and serving people of the older population who are about to transition. But for the purposes of today, we're talking about birth doulas, right? So the overall purpose is to help women have a safe, memorable, and empowering birth experience. And we offer physical support, emotional support, and mental comfort measures through touching and massaging. It's really interesting how important touch is. And I know that when I first got started in this work, I was trained at Winthrop Medical Hospital in Mineola. And I would, as a volunteer, knock on the doors of women who were on the floor, who were admitted for labor and delivery. And I would introduce myself as the volunteer doula, and if they wanted any assistance. And most of them didn't really know what a doula was, but I would walk in, introduce myself, and then I would ask permission. Is it okay if I touch you? Is it okay if I touch your feet? And they're looking at me like, yeah, sure, go ahead if you want to. They usually would have like the hospital socks on, but I would just massage their feet. There's certain pressure points in our feet that will relieve some of the stress and the pain during labor. And so as I'm pressing on those pressure points and honestly just getting a foot rub, whether you hit pressure points or not, is just relaxing when someone else is doing it. You don't really feel it when you do it yourself. But then the other thing is, when's the last time somebody was rubbing your feet, mom, pregnant mom at 9 months? Who was rubbing your feet at that point? No one, unless you were asking. But yeah, so just doing that touch, massage automatically helps in a stressful situation. Doulas also provide the partner or even a family member with educational support. There's some things that they just don't know. And so doulas are offering that evidence-based information. So there's that education aspect. We're also giving them emotional support as well during the pregnancy, during childbirth, and even after, during that postpartum period, which I think is very important. So there are some benefits to having a doula. According to the American Pregnancy Association and other studies have shown that one of the benefits of having a doula is that it provides a positive birth outcome when a doula is present. So that whole family unit is having a more positive outcome, having a person with them who's a doula, who understands, who's giving them that constant support, than not having a doula. Women are less likely to have pain relief medications by up to 60%. And we're talking, for people who are out here listening and you've had pain medications because you just thought, oh no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't even want to deal with pain or labor or a contraction. Just give me the epidural. That's fine. There's honestly no judgment whether you've had it or not, because I've had 4 children and I've had epidurals with all 4, but I also didn't have a doula. Um, Less likely to have a cesarean or a C-section by up to 50% just by having a doula present with you. Now, in the event that one does have a C-section, doulas provide a constant source of encouragement, particularly if the cesarean is a result of an emergency, because that mom is feeling like overwhelmed or unprepared, feeling anxious, confused, disappointed, and quite frankly, scared. Okay, especially if this is not planned and if this is an emergency. The other benefits of having a doula is, like I said again, the power of touch and massage. It reduces the stress and anxiety during labor. A lot of times women or moms are just really, they're just nervous. Okay. It's a scary moment. It's exciting at the same time, but nerve-wracking. You don't know what to expect. You're going based off of movies or maybe stereotypes of what labor is all about. But just having someone rub on your arms, rub down on your legs, rubbing the back of when you're having lower back contractions, which again, no one really talks about, is also very beneficial. And then again, just massaging gives a natural stimulant in our bodies. There's a chemical within our bodies called oxytocin, and that causes the contractions to happen. It's a natural way of releasing that oxytocin in our bodies, as opposed to going the medicated route and having other medications during inductions to start these contractions. So, in the eyes of a doula, pregnancy chronologically designed looks like this. In the eyes of a doula, you are during your prenatal stages. The doula is establishing a rapport with her client. She's listening to what the client needs. She's asking the client, what is it that you're looking for in your birth? How are you enjoying your birth? What are some concerns that you might have? We also offer some suggestive questions that you can ask to your OB or your midwife. Now, in the eyes of the doula during that labor part, right? We give that ongoing labor support. Now, we're not the ones in labor, but we're up with the mom as if we are. We're that constant presence during that time of need. We provide a voice of advocacy. We're the person that the family can go to and say, I don't quite understand what the doctor is saying. Could you help me understand that? Or the other way around. The doctor or the nurses can come in, talk to the family about what it is, the procedures that are happening, what they need to do next. And then the doula will look and turn to the mom or to the family and say, okay, so do you understand what the doctor is saying? Do you understand what the nurses are offering, and do you understand what your options are? And the family is looking at me and they go, I really don't know. And then I'll say, well, you know what, you can ask them for a couple of minutes so you can think about it. It as simple as that is, a lot of times that family, that couple is not even really thinking about options. They're not even thinking about, can I have a few minutes to think about what you're saying to me before I sign my name off on something or say yes to it. And the hospitals are pretty much working for you, not the other way around. And so it's good to have a doula to be that voice of advocacy and voice of reason, right? Through birth, the doula is coaching by modeling breathing and relaxation techniques. There's the picture of the mom in the hospital or overly breathing or breathing fast. And that is a sure way to hyperventilate, which is what you do not need and do not want during labor, during the pushing part of the process of birth. So we model what that breathing looks like. We're holding their hand. We're breathing in with them. We're breathing out with them. We're giving them that modeling approach. Like, okay, so visualize, this is what your body needs. We're offering different kind of positionings. Okay, let's turn on our side. Let's flip on the other side after a few minutes. And of course, the nurses are also helping with that, but the doulas are there to help and assist with that, whether there's having a peanut ball to open up and widen the hips and the birth canal, the birth passage. So we're there for that. The doula is also there during the postpartum period. And this is postpartum also entails the actual birth of the child. So we're encouraging that skin to skin contact. We're encouraging for even dads and other partners to have that skin to skin contact with the baby, especially while mom is being cleaned up, or, if she tall little, she may need some stitching. But if everything goes well and there's none of those abrasions, then still the mom still has to be cleaned up, and she's shaking, she's cold, she's just tired, exhausted. So who better yet to have skin to skin contact than dad or the partner, right? We also help with initiating breastfeeding, and we're still doing that encouragement talk. We're still in that mom's ear, letting her know that she is a super duper rock star, that she did that. She just gave birth to a human being. Like, you did it. You thought you couldn't, but look at you. You thought you couldn't make it, but you did. You're here. Oh my, look at this. Look at this beautiful baby. Look how beautiful you are. And just the small acts of kindness, the small words of encouragement during right after she's had that baby is priceless, and she takes that in and she keeps it forever, right? And then the last part, but not really the last part, is that having a doula really does promote a lifetime friend. You have someone that mom, that family now is now connected to you. I can't speak for all doulas, but I probably could, because you're not going into the business of becoming a doula for the money. You're doing it for the service. You're doing it because you love to help. You love to serve. You want to be there as another part of their team. And believe it or not, there is that intimacy that grows because you've been with them from before they had their baby to during their process of giving birth to after. And so there will always be a connection to you, to that family. And so therefore you do have a lifetime friend in a doula. So some helpful questions to ask if you're on the search of a doula is, first, ask yourself, how do I want my birth to be? Where do I want to give birth? Hospital, at home, birthing center? Who do I want a part of on my birth team? Do I just want my partner with me? Do I want my partner and my parent? Do I want my best friend? Do I want to be alone? Do I want to have a midwife? Do I want to have an OB? So you ask those questions. Then the questions for the doula is, what services do you provide? And why did you become a doula? Everyone's story on their why is very different. And maybe their why might be the reason why you choose this doula to work with you. Are you available during my estimated due date? And really, you also want to ask her, what are your fees? Doulas have different sets of fees, and rightfully so. There are different populations, different demographics that doulas are working with. And so you just want to ask to see if it falls in line with your budget. Some other helpful questions. Once you solidified working with the doula, your doula will encourage you to ask your OB or your midwife, how do you feel about doulas, and what are your cesarean rates? What are your thoughts on inductions? So these are things that parents to be are they may not be thinking about that, especially what are your feelings about doulas? Because before they didn't have a doula. So now that they do have one, they may want to ask their professional opinion or what their thoughts are so that there's no animosity in the birthing room, right? And some other questions you can ask the hospital staff is, do you give tours? Do you do tours in person or virtual tours? Is this a teaching hospital? Why do you want to know if this is a teaching hospital? Because again, in a mom's mind or in the family's mind, things look very different from television than they are in reality. In the movies, no one is a student, right? It's just your OB, the one that you've been with from the very beginning. But sometimes there are rotating physicians. And so you want to know, is this a teaching hospital? Will students be working on me? Will students be in the room when I'm giving birth? I don't know. Do you offer birthing balls or a birthing bar? And that is something that you want to ask the hospital if you are giving birth in a hospital, because then you know that this hospital encourages different positions, different birthing positions, just as opposed to just lying on your back and pushing. If they do have birthing balls and they do have birthing bars, then they're not a hospital. 9 times out of 10, they're not a hospital that's ready to just do epidurals, because once you have an epidural, people, you're stuck to that bed. But if they have birthing balls, then they are allowing the body to progress naturally in its birthing course. And now this is great, and I wish that this was taught to me. But here's some questions that you can ask your family, right? Can you assist me with some meals? Like once I get home, do you think you can, Mom, make your lasagna, like 2 pans of it, and I'll put it in the freezer so that I have something to eat? I can thaw it out, put it in the oven, and I don't have to worry about it. Can you make a big pot of soup that I can eat right when I get home, and that I can feed myself, my husband, or my family, my children, whoever's in the house, right? Because that person who probably just gave birth is probably also the same person who's cooking and feeding the family as well. Can you give me time before coming over? Oh, wow. What a question. What a question. I can honestly say there was a moment, there was a time when I had one of my children. I don't want to say it too much for my husband to understand. Oh, yeah, I know exactly what day you're talking about. But there was a time that the day that I was coming home, I guess everyone wanted to come over, and I was in the bedroom. I was nursing. I was just really just getting acclimated back to home. And the next thing I know, ding dong, a slew of family and friends came in. Now they came in with food, so that's great, but it was loud. It was like a party going on. And I'm in my room looking busted and disgusted. And I did not want to put on face. I did not even want to change my clothes, let alone look like I didn't just have a baby, but I'm swollen still. I'm creeping in terms of walking. I can't even walk straight or walk as normal because I'm sore. I mean, it was just the pits. And so when everyone left, of course, my husband and I had a discussion. And honestly, I don't think he did not mean, I know he didn't. I know he didn't mean to take me over the edge and trigger me, right? But he did. And maybe it was both of our faults for not communicating what our needs were. He had needs for his family to come in and our friends to come in and see the newborn baby, right? I had a need to be left alone, completely alone, and rest and recoup and at least try and get back to my normal self before entertaining. So a question, everyone, is to ask, can you give me time before coming over? And that time should be on your time schedule. And the ideal question is, In what ways can you support me? Now, your family might not even be used to that because your family might be used to just coming over unexpected, not calling, or your family might be the type of family that calls ahead of time, or your family may not really understand what their needs are. You know, they might just know, oh, I'm going to come in, see the baby, I'm going to give you some gifts, and then I'm going to leave, you know. But you might actually need them to do other things for you. And so those are a few helpful questions that you can ask. So as I start to close, I wanted to definitely touch base on what birth equity is. And we're dealing with something within our society right now with birth inequities. But the pure definition of birth equity is the state in which everyone is treated fairly and has an opportunity to receive their highest level of quality health care. That is birth equity across the board. Doesn't matter what culture you come from. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter. No matter if you're, you know, a teenage mom or an older mom, it really doesn't matter. The birth equity is that you should be treated fairly across the board. Now, again, unfortunately, we are dealing with an epidemic in our country, and that's the Black maternal health disparities or the Black maternal health crisis. Now, just a few things about these disparities. Most pregnancy-related deaths are preventable. Most of them are, like in the 90th percent, they're preventable. And yet we have the highest rate of those maternal mortality rates in the United States. Recognizing urgent maternal warning signs and provide timely treatment and care. There are moms who are calling their doctors and mentioning, you know, I feel like I've had a headache for a little too long, or you know, it's a little blurry, my vision's a little blurry, or I'm having extra pain, or you know, the swelling isn't going down. These are some maternal warning signs that should be communicated to your health profession or health professional, and they should also provide timely treatment and timely care. Black women are 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related cause than white women. And some contributing factors other than underlying chronic conditions is a variation of quality healthcare, structural racism, and implicit bias. If there are any healthcare professionals that are listening today, whether you are an OB, a midwife, a doula, a mental health professional, or just an ally, just someone who wants to help in this epidemic, because it's an epidemic, that means it can be fixed. We together can fix it. One of the top things is to listen to Black women, create a safe space so that their voices, our voices are being heard. Incorporate postpartum depression and anxiety screenings during appointment time. Talk about it. You know, you won't know what they're going through unless you talk about it. Partner with other Black maternal health organizations, such as the Women's Diversity Network that I'm a part of, and also support maternal mental health facilities. So just to bring some awareness, next month, April 11th through the 17th, is considered Black Maternal Health Week. This is a week where you may want to look out for other ways that you can become involved or become an ally. This month, we're talking about Women's History Month, and there's so much legacy, there's so much to be proud of during this month for all of the strides that women have made from way back to now to present time. And Black Maternal Health Week is also a part of Women's Health Month. because it's just a continuation of helping women help women. So to summarize everything, this is from one parent to another. To be a good parent, you need to take care of yourself, and you have to have the physical and emotional energy to take care of your family. I truly believe that that is necessary, and it really is the staple that I think all parents, you don't have to be a mother to be a parent, but anyone who is raising children, you do need that self-care. You do need that time for you to be completely whole. Because how, if you're broken and you're not taking care of yourself, how can you take care of other people? Now, children will draw on you. They will pull and they can drain all of the energy that you think that you have. But there is something always within inside all of us. And if we take a moment to refuel, we'll be a better person for it. So that's what I have to say. I really do thank you for this opportunity. My business is called Labor of Love Doula Services. And again, my name is Makeeta Cochy. My email is there, and you can find me on Instagram at Labor of Love Doula Services.
Great presentation, Makeeta. Thank you so much for coming today. And I know that each and everything that you said here today is so of utmost importance for those ladies out there that are mothers, that are, that have experienced most of the things that you have mentioned here today. And I hope that they take this information and utilize it, because it's one thing to talk about something, but to also pertain it to your life the way it should go,
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful for you. I thank you so much for taking the time to come here today. And I'm looking forward to future times with you as well. There was something I had wanted to ask. You said you do cater to men as well, to the fathers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because every time we have stuff for women, people are like, what about the men? What about the men? But the men are a part of us, so that's why we say women, but of course you men are included. So just to let you know that it is important. You do matter as far as being the father of the child or children.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing is, this is how I can get or win over some of the fathers, is because I let them know that, okay, fine, if you don't want to hire a doula, that means you'll be up all night. Into another night, into the next day. Wouldn't it be good if you had somebody that you can tag team with? Wouldn't it be good if you had somebody that you can say, okay, I'm tagging you in so I can take a rest? Wouldn't that be good? As opposed to you being there the whole time or not even knowing what to do. At least you have someone who's there, who understands what to do, what's going on with the birthing process and the labor, so that you don't have to. But now doulas do not take over, so that if there's an active father, this is his baby too. This is his birthing experience too, though he's not literally giving birth, but this is his journey, this is his experience. And who am I as a doula to take that away from him? This is something that he'll always remember as well.
Well said, well versed. Everything that I'm just grateful that you presented so well, so great. And as I knew you would. The other thing I was going to ask too is, I wanted, if you could just send me that slide, I want to be able to share it on my social media for anybody who wants to contact you. And what is there a specific hospital that you deal with right now closely with?
I do service the Suffolk and Nassau communities primarily. I do also work with families in Queens, but I tend to stay with the hospitals in Nassau and in Suffolk County. So I work with any hospital where the client where the client is registered with.
So these are all great things to know. So anybody out there, if you would like to hire Makeeta, by all means, I have her information. I'm going to have it on social media. You can reach out to her. And as you can see, she's a great source. And I'm sure you will not be disappointed with her services. So I wanted to thank you again and congratulations on all your endeavors. So proud of you. Continue to, have many blessings and
thank you. Thank you. And on to you too, because the new me, new you logo is great. And just your whole mission to really showcase new businesses and people who are doing what they need to do in their community. So thank you. And thank you for this time.
Thank you. And it's my pleasure. My pleasure. So ladies and gentlemen out there, again, I hope that you heard everything that was said tonight and that you can pertain it to your life whichever way that you can. And until next time, thank you for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Makeeta, thank you so much.